Morning. I hope everyone has enjoyed the session and had the very good information from Dr. Ram Kumar. In today's session, we have a topic on immunonutrition and traditional spices, which is chaired by Mrs. Meenakshi Bajaj, Ma'am, Chief Dietitian, Tamil Nadu Government Multi Super Speciality Hospital, Chennai. I request Dr. Srinivasan to introduce Ma'am to the participant. Sir, please.
Good evening, participants. Good evening. I'm happy to introduce Meenakshi Bajaj, Madam. She's a wonderful speaker, and she is having a lot of experience. So you are all lucky enough to gather the information. Please watch carefully, and you very well interact, Madam, also. So now I introduce Meenakshi Bajaj, Madam. She is registered dietitian with 27 years of experience in clinical and therapeutic nutrition, certified bariatric and critical care nutritionist, certified diabetic educator, and genomics consultant, triple certified in renal and onco nutrition by European Society of Clinical Nutrition and Metabolism, state rank holder, and best ongoing student in undergraduate level. And she is a National Executive Committee member, Indian Diabetic Association and Association of Diabetics Educators India, Executive Committee member of Nutrition Society of India, Chennai chapter, former president, Indian Dietetic Association, Chennai chapter. She was a resource person for several national and international conferences, nutrition, diabetics, renal, EN and PN, and she is author of Diet Metrics Handbook of Food Exchanges 2019, and authored several chapters in textbooks, journals, and manuals related to nutrition diabetics. And she contributed several nutrition and health-related articles in national print and media. She received Best Nutritionist 2019 award from FitUp Fest 2019. She was also a recipient of Sadhana Award 2020 for contributions in the field of clinical and therapeutic nutrition, medical nutrition therapist, former His Excellency Tamil Nadu. Thank you. Now I hand over the session to the speaker, Meenakshi Bajaj. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. At the outset, I'm grateful to Women's Polytechnic College and Bharatidasan Government College for Women, with special thanks to Dr. Kayal Willi ma'am and Dr. Gandhi Mohan sir for the opportunity to be talking to you on immunonutrition and traditional spices. I think this topic has been really hot for the past 1.5 to 2 months. We've been hearing about immunity, traditional spices, nutrition, how it can really help us during this COVID pandemic. But before I start my presentation, I would want to make it very, very clear that traditional spices is not a cure for COVID-19, but definitely it can help to build up our immunity, to modulate the immunity, to strengthen the immunity, both the adaptive immunity as well as the innate immunity, which will actually reduce the intensity of the pandemic. I mean, say the COVID. If suppose somebody is affected by COVID-19, then definitely the intensity or the severity of the cytokine storm, which we expect, will definitely be on the lower side if you're going to continue to build up your immunity with either nutrition or the addition of traditional spices. But nobody is Peter Parker here. You know, Peter Parker was bitten by a radioactive spider and overnight he became Spider-Man. But none of us can become superwoman or superman or, you know, very strong immunity overnight by just taking a concoction of traditional spices or highly nutritive foodstuffs in our regular. We have to take this nutritious diet throughout for a period to build up our immunity. Now, what do we say about spices and condiments? According to the ISO, what is the definition for spices is, they are vegetable products or mixtures which are free from extraneous matter, which is basically used for flavoring, seasoning, or even imparting aroma to the food. So, for example, when we take ginger tea or when we add cardamom to the tea, you get the aroma or the flavor of cardamom. So, similarly, not only adding to the flavor and to the aroma of the foods. Another important thing is it also helps to fight several diseases. Now you will see this is a range of various spices which I'll continue. Yeah. Is the screen clear enough?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, fine. So what I was trying to tell you here is our country is a land of spices. You know, you can see from black pepper, chili, ginger, turmeric, garlic. You can count for, and all these spices are available in our country, which are exported in large quantities to various parts of the world also. Sir, you'll have to flip the slides.
Okay, ma'am. Just you say the okay, I will move it to next one.
Okay. So presently, if you see that, you know, this is today's scene where we see that there are large numbers of COVID cases found in our country. This screenshot is of today's morning. And as you see that the numbers are only soaring. We don't see yet a dip coming. So the fear is very, very high with this emotional stress, physical stress, mental stress. Some of them are even going through financial stress. The next slide, please. And here, all of us are trying to work, you know, whether it's the WHO, whether it's the ICMR or the Ministry of Health or the community level, like how presently the Bharatidasan College as well as the Polytechnic College for Women, both of them have joined together to, you know, to spread this important message of how one can build up their immunity just with simple basic tips, you know, with the food which is available in our kitchen. And our Anjara Dabba is filled with immunonutrition. So at the individual level, how we can help to spread this message across. The next slide, please. So now if you see, we've been hearing this Amphan storm, which is going to be hitting the Bay of Bengal and Odisha and so many other places which are along the coast side. And so many lakhs of people are already evacuated. So with one end of this cytokine storm syndrome, which is, you know, taking lives of so many people, some are having just left with morbidity, some are landing up with mortality also. So this fear where we are able to evacuate so many people because of the storm, but how are we going to handle the cytokine storm? What is this cytokine storm? Actually, you will see that an inflammatory cytokine or a pro-inflammatory cytokine is nothing but a type of signaling molecule which is secreted by the immune cells, especially the T cell and the macrophages and certain other types of cell types which in turn promote inflammation. Inflammation is, there is, you know, a huge rush or a gush of cytokines which are inflamed, which infiltrate into the lungs and cause injury in the lungs. After which you will find that the patient is suffering from high fever, there is excessive leakiness of the blood vessels, there is blood clotting, there is low blood pressure, and sometimes there is fluid accumulated in the lungs, which in other words is otherwise known as pleural effusion. Now, usually we see the white blood cells are usually a helping cell. You know, it really helps us when it comes to such infections. But here it does its work in the reverse. So what really it does now is it starts affecting the healthy tissues, the healthy organs, the kidneys, the livers, the lung. All of them start getting affected and one lands up with multiple organ dysfunction syndrome. So all the organs land up with failure because of the cytokine storm syndrome. That's what is COVID-19. And one also lands up with acute respiratory distress syndrome. Apart from this, we also have to prevent ourselves from secondary infection for those people who land up with COVID positive. The next slide, please. So you find that the patient also starts having a leaky gut. Now, this is the time where we need to build up our defenses. If we've already built up our defenses, you won't land up with a leaky gut or opportunistic infections, and you won't have such a high volume of cytokine storm around you. How can this be prevented? This can be prevented by 4 important things: the probiotics, the prebiotic, the nutrients, and the amino acids. All these 4 put together help us build up our immunity. When it comes to the prebiotics, you will see apple, oats, garlic, banana. These are foods which one consumes commonly on regular basis. These prebiotic help to synthesize the probiotic which is required for building up our immunity. And obviously there are another array of nutrients like vitamin A, D, E, selenium, omega-3 fatty acids, zinc, vitamin C. All these also play an important role in building up our immunity. The next slide, please. So here you are seeing a major rush, you know, Suddenly, when this pandemic came in, no, people were running across for finding out which mask would help them prevent this COVID-19, prevent this transmission of this virus from one person to another person, which gloves will help us when we are working in a hospital setup, or which is the vaccine which is coming up, which can prevent us and treat COVID-19. But on the other side, if you are seeing that there is another window which talks about building up our immune system, just with the simple 2 words called balanced diet. And wherever they are deficient with, they require supplementation. It could be vitamin D, it could be vitamin C, it could be zinc supplementation. And the best thing would be, sir, there are few people who cannot see the PPT.
Everybody is seeing, ma'am. We are seeing.
Okay, fine, sir.
Everybody is seeing.
Can you go back to the previous slide, sir? Yeah, so I was telling that even in this period, we have to think of exercise, we have to think of being calm, being positive, because all these things play a very important role with our gut microbiota. We need our gut to be really healthy. People will be wondering, what is this leaky gut? What is this healthy gut? What do you mean by microbiota? All these things is another immune system by itself. So how do we fight across this COVID pandemic? With the help of enhancing both our innate and adaptive immunity. This can be simply enhanced by vitamin D, by zinc. There are some amount of research papers which tell us that these vitamins and these trace elements do help us in improving our innate and adaptive immunity. Can you go to the previous slide, sir? So when we talk of immunonutrition, one needs to remember the gut needs to be healthy. We need to keep ourselves away from infection. Infection, in other words, is inflammation. The next slide, please. So when we talk of immune function, it's the genes, it's the environmental immunogens, it is the diet, it is the nutrients, all of them put together along with the microbiome add on to our health and immunity. The next slide, please. So how did this entire healthcare, come up in life? You can keep pressing, sir, next till the entire slide comes up. So we started off with 2000 BC, where people were only eating roots, fruits, vegetables, which were available. That was the paleo diet or the Paleolithic diet, where the hunters and gatherers only used to hunt, kill, eat, and eat only fresh produce. Then slowly in 1000 AD, it became that, you should not eat the root, you should start praying. When people felt that, no, you should not pray, it's superstitious, it makes no sense, you drink a potion. What was potion? Potion was nothing but snake oil, which was venom, which was a poison. So they said, no, definitely we are not supposed to take poison. We can start swallowing a pill. Then they felt a pill is not of any use. It's not doing its job. When there is severe infection, when there is tuberculosis, we need to have an antibiotic. We need to have anti-tuberculosis drugs. Or there is some other infection like typhoid. We need to have drugs to handle typhoid. Or similarly, the phase came from pills to antibiotics. And now in this COVID-19 pandemic, we know no antibiotic works, and we are still working with daily new breaking news coming that this vaccine has come up, or should we take in hydroxychloroquine? What? There is so much of ambiguity, confusion, no clarity at all. So where are we coming back again? We say we come back to our root, come back to our Anjara Dabba, come back to the diet which is present in our kitchen and not only in our fridges. The next slide, please. So how do you shore up your defense? I would say A, vitamin A. B could be all the bell peppers, that is the capsicum, which has the vitamin C. The C is the citrus fruits. Now, the king of fruits is Amla. Our requirement of vitamin C ranges between 40 to 80 milligrams. And in fact, in premier institutes in the country, they are using ascorbic acid infusions, IV, to handle these COVID ICUs. So vitamin C has a very major role, but one needs to remember this: whenever vitamin C is consumed, you cannot cook the food. If you cook the food, the vitamin C is oxidized or it is lost. So you need to take it in the raw form. The best would be tomatoes, capsicum in the form of salads, nellika in the form of an pickle, which is not actually heated, which could be just consumed with a little bit of salt, or just some ginger and some extract of ginger juice along with some nellika juice with a little bit of honey for children. Adults can take it even without honey. So amla is one important nutrient. I would say one important food ingredient. The second thing I would say is ginger. Ginger has gingerol, shagol. It has got about 400 important bioactive components, which have immunomodulating, value in it. And then you have star anise. That's the nakshatra sombu, which you would have seen in so much of biryani which one consumes. This nakshatra sombu also has important antioxidant and shikimic acid, which is an important immunomodulator, which also has some amount of antiviral properties. All the food ingredients which I'm talking to you about today are not just spoken just by reading some media or some WhatsApp message forward. They are all evidence-based medicine which I'm sharing with you today. But remember, each of these evidence-based medicinal properties containing foods or spices or food ingredients have an upper limit or an acceptable daily limit. We should not cross that acceptable daily limit, because when you cross that acceptable daily limit, it may land up to be toxic also. So as I said, star anise is nothing but nakshatra som, which can be consumed, which is about 1 pinch a day, not more than a pinch a day. Some children take it with 1 teaspoon of honey or 1 teaspoon of date syrup or jaggery or palm sugar, or just take it like that in any gravy or dal or some poriyal. Coconut oil also is an important immuno booster because it has got lauric acid and monolaurine, but better to avoid it in cardiac patients or in those with dyslipidemia or diabetes with comorbidities. But definitely for children, if you can choose on extra virgin cold pressed coconut oil, at least 1 teaspoon alternate days, it will do good to their gut as well as to their immune system. Garlic is another important thing which has got allicin in it, but garlic, when it is consumed in excess, it can lead to gastritis, or you may land up with gastroesophageal reflux disease. So you can't take too much of it in the raw form. People take it in the form of boiled milk concoction, say about 150 ml of water, 50 ml of milk. To that you add about 3 to 4 cloves of garlic. Fresh garlic can be slightly crushed. It could be boiled, and the concoction could become very small, say about 30 ml of the concoction. The whole concoction has to be boiled really soft. If it is left raw, it may definitely add to gastritis or migraine. So this could be consumed at bedtime, which not only helps to improve blood sugar control, but also helps to build up immunity, and it also is a good sleep inducer. It will also give good sleep. Same when it comes to sweet potatoes, they are antioxidative, anti-inflammatory. This whole time we are going to be talking only of anti-infective, anti-inflammatory properties. And what you would understand with sweet potato is it could be used as a snack or along with your lunch or along as an evening snack in any form. Just needs to be boiled, squeeze some lime over it, lime juice, and can be consumed. It has a lot of conjugated phenolic acid, anthocyanins, which do an important role of anti-inflammatory role. Then you have the fresh tulsi leaves. But when it comes to tulsi leaves, you need to remember one thing. It has got eugenol, but you cannot consume more than 2 grams when it comes to a male person, because it is genesis. Sir, the slide is gone. Yeah. Okay. No, you can go back to the previous slide. So when it comes to basil leaves or tulsi leaves, you need to remember that you should not cross 2 grams, which means that when you take in excess, when it comes to men, it may definitely interfere with spermatogenesis. So restrict it when it comes to men to not more than 2 grams per day. And then you have turmeric, which has got curcumin in it. But whenever you consume turmeric, remember to add pepper to it, because the piperine in pepper will help to improve the bioavailability of turmeric. The turmeric also, the upper acceptable intake is only 2.5 grams per day, which means half teaspoon leveled. You cannot take 1 teaspoon turmeric in the morning, 1 teaspoon for dinner. You just can't go overboard with any of the spices. So curcumin and turmeric can be made bioavailable with pepper, but remember, not more than half teaspoon per day. That would be ideal. Next comes to omega-3 fatty acids, which comes from the basic fenugreek, the Vendium, which you add to your idli batter, dosa batter, to the sambar, or the Vendia kolambu, or to the poond kolambu when you can take. But remember one thing, when you take flax seeds as a source of omega-3 fatty acids, you have to restrict it to less than 1 teaspoon. EFSA has a warning that you should not cross more than 1 teaspoon, especially when it comes to children. But usually flax seeds can be ground or it could be consumed just like that. But when you consume it and chew on it, only then you will get the bioavailable omega-3 fatty acids. But if you're going to grind it and keep it, you have to keep it in the refrigerator, and don't keep large quantities ground. You have to keep only very small quantities because they get very rancid, because it has got omega-3 fatty acids in it. Now the next thing is moringa leaves or the drumstick leaves. You will see that moringa leaves or drumstick leaves are rich sources of polyphenols, phenolic acids, flavonoids. All of them do a great job as an important antioxidant. It also has a very high ORAC value. I will show you what an ORAC value means. The next thing is kalonji seeds or the black cumin seeds. You must be hearing black cumin seed extracted oil or black cumin seeds, but there is an upper limit of 2 grams. So you're not supposed to cross maximum 2 grams per day, which means, 1 gram is 2 pinches. So you don't cross 4 pinches a day. That's the limit. Some of them develop diarrhea when it comes to black cumin seeds. So those patients or those people should not consume too much quantity of black cumin seeds. The next slide, please. So when I talk of ORAC value is nothing but the amount of antioxidant potency in that particular foodstuff. So ORAC is nothing but oxidative absorption capacity. That is oxidative radical absorption capacity. When you talk of any foodstuff, basically the ORAC value, if it is very, very high, it has a very high antioxidant capacity. The next slide, please. Basically, you will see nuts, you will see walnuts, you will see lemon, you will see all these particular foods, you will see moringa leaves. All these are very rich, very high sources of ORAC, meaning the ORAC value is really high. And the antioxidants which are present in some of the spices which we were talking of are the flavonoids in black pepper, gingerol in ginger, curcumin in turmeric, then the capsaicin or the eugenol in the cloves, as well as, the most of the spices we consume are majorly because of the antioxidant property in the spices which we consume. The next slide, please. So this is the ORAC value which I was talking to you of. That is, you see raw ginger has such a high ORAC value, black cumin seeds and walnuts, star anise. Moringa leaves is the highest source if you see. In cinnamon also, you will find that the ORAC value is really high, but when it comes to cinnamon, remember that it has an upper limit of 1.5 grams per day, which means 3 pinches. And you're not supposed to cross 3 months. You are not supposed to take it for more than 3 months. That is the upper limit. You cannot be consuming it for years together. Cinnamon has property which will help to improve the blood sugars, also help you to build up your immunity because it has such a high ORAC value. But remember, in cinnamon, there are 2 types. One is the bark type and the other is the roll type. The one which is the bark type is an adulterant, which is the roll type is only the safe form of cinnamon which can be consumed in tea or in all your cooking preparations. The next slide, please. Another important thing here which I wanted to say is cocoa is a very important source of zinc. And usually we don't tell children to consume chocolates. But then in this situation, if you can incorporate cocoa in your regular diet, in any form, especially children love it. So in milk, if you can add cocoa powder and add some finely ground nuts, you can actually increase the ORAC value of the milk which one is consuming because of the zinc as well as the ORAC value in cocoa. The next slide, please. So these are all the acceptable upper limit of the various spices which one can consume. So when it comes to turmeric, I mentioned to you not more than 2.5 grams per day. Saffron can go not more than 1.5 grams. Fenugreek is about a teaspoon. Cinnamon is not more than 1.5 grams. And star anise, as I mentioned to you, only 1 pinch. And nutmeg, not more than 1 to 2 milligrams per kg body weight. Like that, each of these spices can be consumed based on their acceptable upper limit. The next slide, please. This is, I've spoken to you about the positive side of the spices. Now, there is some negative side of the spices also, which we need to remember. As I mentioned to you, if somebody is having ulcer, it could be peptic ulcer, it could be gastritis, it could be gastric ulcer, or it could be, they could be having liver failure, renal failure, or they may be having a high potassium, high serum potassium values. Probably some of these patients may be on potassium sparing diuretics, where the serum potassium values are slightly on the higher side. So those people cannot be consuming these spices even if they are in their acceptable daily intake. As I mentioned to you, too much of raw garlic can also trigger a migraine. And sometimes when you take too much excess of turmeric, you will find that there is a change in the liver size also. So any nutrient, any food ingredient has to be taken only as per prescription. The next slide, please. Now, all this while we've been talking about the traditional spices, but then in any diet, when you want to build up your immunity, you cannot talk only of traditional spices. You also have to think of all the various other immunonutrients which will help to build up immunity. We have research papers telling us zinc, vitamin D, vitamin C has a very important role when it comes to building up immunity. And apart from that, the trace elements could be selenium and zinc, magnesium, copper, omega-3 fatty acids, icosapentaenoic acid, docosahexaenoic acid also, which play a complementary role in supporting the immune system. We've seen that in COVID-19, most of the deaths are because of pneumonia or, associated secondary infections. Those who have a very, very poor immunity, they fare very, very poorly when it comes to being handled with COVID-19. The next slide, please. So as I mentioned to you, there is another research paper which tells us that a very high polyphenol content in a human diet. When we say polyphenol content, where do you think you get these polyphenols from? From all the naturally colored fruits and berries and cherries, pomegranate, all of them have polyphenol content, a very high polyphenol content. Apart from that, apple, that is all the pectin containing foods, mainly apples. Then you have the tea, either you drink the cinnamon tea or the green tea or the lemon tea, all of them have polyphenols. But then when you're consuming tea, too much of tea is going to have too much of tannin, which will interfere with iron absorption. So you need to limit the number of cups of tea to 2 to 3 cups a day. When you talk of green tea, it's a rich source of potassium. It has so many other added benefits, like it can improve your immunity, it can improve your basal metabolic rate, it will help to reduce inflammation, it also helps in osteoarthritis. There are so many health benefits when it comes to green tea and polyphenols in the green tea. But at the same time, we have to limit it to 300 ml per day. We can't just consume, there are so many people who consume 1 liter of green tea a day. You can't be overdoing like that. So the next slide, please. Now protein, without protein in your diet, you cannot think of immunity, you cannot think of antibodies, you cannot think of enzymes, you cannot think of hormones. All these things have an interplay in building up our immunity. So when it comes to proteins, you need to think of, obviously, the good quality proteins are the dairy or the non-vegetarian sources. When it comes to the non-vegetarian sources, I think presently in this pandemic, we can hold on to eggs, though poultry, fish, mutton, all of them are also good sources of protein. But food safety, food hygiene, the person who's buying the poultry, how it's free from infection, or the place where they're handling or cutting the poultry, how clean that place is. So environmental hygiene, food safety, all these also play a very important role when it comes to non-vegetarian foods. So non-vegetarian foods, unless you're very sure where you're buying it and who's cutting it and who's giving it to you, I think the safer bet would be eggs. When it comes to eggs, remember that when you buy the egg, you wash it with soap and water. It sounds very stupid. We wash our hands with soap and water. We need to wash it for about 20 seconds so that we keep away from this COVID virus. But at the same time, when it comes to eggs, you wash it with soap and water. And after you wash it with plain water, and then you cook it. But obviously, avoid cooking the sunny side up. Prefer having cooked both the yolk and the white, completely cooked form. And when you've cooked it, you consume it immediately. Otherwise, you'll have to store it at an appropriate temperature. I would suggest, if those who are consuming non-vegetarian foods, cook it immediately and consume it immediately. The next slide, please. So there was another systemic review where they had reviewed 640 records and about 22 studies where 13 vitamins, 8 minerals, and 18 nutraceuticals and few probiotics were studied. In this study, where they had chosen about 640 records, they found that vitamin A, vitamin D had potential benefits, especially in the deficient populations. And next is the selenium and the zinc. They had favorable, immunomodulatory effects when it came to viral respiratory infections. So we are talking here of COVID virus. So we are worried about the respiratory infection. We are worried about the acute respiratory distress syndrome. We are worried about the cytokine storm. For all this, we can think and concentrate on vitamin A, vitamin D, zinc, and selenium. The next slide, please. So if I am to read after the end of these 640 records, what was it? For a viral disease like COVID-19, where no pharmacological strategies for prevention or treatment is available presently, what would we think of? Nutritional strategies for enhancing immunity is something which one needs to explore. So here we need to know malnutrition, whether it's undernutrition, whether it's overnutrition. Neither we need overnutrition, neither we need undernutrition. At the same time, we need to remember the vitamins, which I mentioned to you, vitamin A, D, E, trace elements like selenium, zinc, omega-3 fatty acids, and probiotics in the natural form. You know, there was a research paper done, I exactly don't remember the year, maybe around 2012 or onwards, in CMC Vellore, where they found that when curd is actually a fermented product. When it is kept overnight, you find that the next day when it is consumed, after the curd is set, it has to be kept 12 hours. Then you find that it has probiotic activity. So apart from the curd which has been fermented and kept overnight for more than 12 hours, you will find there is probiotic activity. Apart from that, there is probiotic yogurt available, probiotic ice creams which are available, but I would not suggest at this juncture to have ice creams and, you know, be at risk of cold cough or any respiratory infection. And it is the time for balanced diet and selective micronutrient supplementation. Actually, if you would have seen, the government of Tamil Nadu had released government order where they wanted, you know, the population to take about 500 milligrams of vitamin C daily for about a short period of time, as well as zinc. You know, zinc has an upper limit. Zinc, though we know that the recommended dietary allowance ranges between 10 to 12 milligrams in adults. You know, your therapeutic limit is different and prophylactic is different. Prophylactic is for people who are, you know, the COVID warriors who are working with COVID patients, or those who are at risk, the vulnerable group. Vulnerable group is the diabetic, the geriatric, the below 12 years of age, pregnant women. All of them require some amount of supplementation, but the supplementation has to be done under supervision, especially when it comes to pregnancy and when it comes to children. But I think the adult population and the geriatric population can take about 10 milligrams per day. And you have to understand between, this is the prophylactic dose and the therapeutic dose could go even higher. Between 10 to 20 could be the prophylactic, 20 to 40 could be the therapeutic dose. Whenever you take a zinc product, you will find that 23% is only elemental zinc. And when it comes to zinc present in foods, you will find it is present in whole grams, it is present in nuts, it is present in poultry, but it has got phytates in it. The foodstuffs which we consume, which are sources of zinc, have phytates in it. These food sources have to be either sprouted or they have to be fermented. Only then the phytates get inactive and the zinc is bioavailable to the system. But remember, when we used to consume almonds, we always soak it overnight and remove the skin. So we are inactivating the phytate and making the zinc available. Same when it comes to the chana, rajma, all the whole gram, the sundal variety, we prefer soaking it overnight. But if you're going to add baking soda to it, you're not going to do good. When you're soaking it overnight, you're going to improve the vitamin C, you're going to improve the niacin. Also, you're going to make the zinc available to the system. Also, poultry foods, oysters, all the yellow urunde, that is the gingerly seeds, the same seeds which I'm talking of, are also rich sources of zinc. The cocoa is also another rich source of zinc. Now, when it comes to, you can come to the next slide, please. When it comes to vitamin A, it is obviously all of us know that it is a fat-soluble vitamin, and dairy products, apart from dairy products, you have mango, papaya, apricots, green leafy vegetables. All these are sources of vitamin A. What does vitamin A really do? It helps to work on the skin, on the mucosal system. It is an important antioxidant. It also has an important role to play when it comes to the immune processes at the cellular level. When I say cellular level, I'm talking of cell metabolism, I'm talking of enzymes, I'm talking of hormones, I'm talking of gut lining. I'm talking at that level, vitamin A will do its job. The next slide, please. Next is vitamin D. This vitamin D is found to be a very important immunomodulator. It will prevent them from releasing too many inflammatory cytokines. These cytokines are the ones which cause the cytokine storm, which I was talking to of. So the COVID-19 virus is known to cause an excess of pro-inflammatory cytokines. This vitamin D will help modulate the response of white blood cells and prevent them from releasing too many inflammatory cytokines. The next slide, please. So when it comes to vitamin D, you can actually, there is some amount of research which I mentioned here that it can help protect against acute respiratory infections, but we do not have enough data to tell us that it can prevent or it can treat COVID-19. But there is a correlation where we have found that those people who are have been affected with COVID-19, coincidentally, so many of them have had a low vitamin D status also. So we would say that, there is only a correlation, but not a causation. So I'm very clear with what I'm saying is there is only a correlation and not a causation. When it comes to vitamin D, I would say simply sunlight, between 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. Even in this lockdown, you can go up to your terrace and you need to expose about 18% of your body, which is just your arms. If you just expose 18% of your arms, you get the required vitamin D. You may not require a vitamin D supplement. If you're going to do it daily, regular basis between 11 a.m. to 3 p.m., you are going to meet your vitamin D requirement. For food sources, some amount of cheese as vitamin D, as well as you have fortified oils which are available. Oils are fortified with vitamin D. So you can choose on oils which are fortified with vitamin D. There are some cereals which are fortified. There's orange juice fortified. There is some amount of dairy products which are fortified with vitamin D. So those products have very small quantity. I would say the best bet would be to go into the sunlight between 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. I made a mistake. It's not 3 p.m. It's 2 p.m. The next slide, please. So this sunshine vitamin D is also present in some amount in egg yolk also. And here I've given you enough detailing on vitamin D and when it comes to immunity in COVID patients. But also an important thing is it also helps to keep the gut very, very healthy. The next slide, please. So next is vitamin E. Now vitamin E is present in most of the nuts which you and me consume, mainly the almonds and the pistachios. Apart from the vitamin E which is present in almond and pistachios and cashew nuts also are a source of resveratrol which help to build up our immunity. So the role of vitamin D is very profound here once again at the cellular level, at the enzyme, at the hormonal level. But usually this vitamin E really works best when it comes to in action with selenium or vitamin C or omega-3 fatty acids. So sunflower seeds, safflower seeds, fortified cooking oil, flax seeds less than 1 teaspoon when it comes to children, almonds, pistachios, all these are sources of vitamin E which can be consumed in any form. The next slide, please. Selenium is one important source which I told you, which is an important trace element which will not only prevent, cardiomyopathy in patients suffering from cardiac diseases, those who are on peripheral parenteral nutrition or supplemental parenteral nutrition to be said rightly, they'll end up with selenium deficiency. In those patients, apart from those patients, if we want to build up our immunity, we are looking at selenium. Selenium is present mainly in organ meats like kidney, egg, poultry, fish, wheat germ, all the dals, the Bengal gram dal, the dals which you and me would consume on regular basis. Even chia seeds are a source of selenium. The next slide, please. Vitamin C, as I've already told you, vitamin C present in amla has a very, very important role when it comes to wound healing, preventing infections, collagen formation, modulating the immune function. And as I told you, they are already using in premier institutions as IV infusions in COVID ICUs. The next slide, please. So vitamin C sources are raw form of moringa leaves, tomatoes, capsicum, raw mango. All of them are sources of vitamin C. About 10 grams of Nellika will give you 60 milligrams of vitamin C.
Dear participant, please mute your mic, please.
If you take a guava, whether it's a red guava or a white fleshed guava, or whether you take capsicum, all of them when consumed in raw form, they will do the best in the form of vitamin C. Vitamin C can be consumed at any time of the day. But when you're taking any citrus fruit or anything which is sour, better to take it after a meal because you may land up with gastritis. Because for those people who are prone to gastritis, citrus fruits may not do good at empty stomach. But otherwise, you can take it. See, actually, there is a very useful recipe when it comes to moringa leaves, which are not only very high in ORAC value, also vitamin C as well as fiber, vitamin. You will also see if you take a handful of moringa leaves, one avla, little piece of ginger, and either a guava or a kiwi, blend it in the mixie with a little bit of cucumber, add some black salt or some regular salt. If you want, you can add some black pepper. This will all add to your taste. This is a very valuable immuno boosting, healthy, it also helps to improve weight loss, gives glow to your skin. There are a wonderful benefits when it comes to this recipe of green smoothie with moringa leaves, with avla, with guava. You can add cucumber, ginger. If you don't want avla, you can add lemon juice. Any of these, all in the raw form, blended and taken in the morning, will do wonders to your health in the form of, cellular function, supporting your cellular function, or good glycemic control, or building up your immunity, or making your gut healthy. You can ask for it and it is available in this green smoothie. The next slide, please. Black salt will add to flavor. So black salt will do good when it comes to flavor. Otherwise, even rock salt will do perfectly fine. So vitamin C helps to improve both the adaptive immunity as well as to the innate immunity. When we talk of vitamin C, it also helps to improve anemia, but you need to remember vitamin C helps to improve the iron absorption. That's why it helps in iron deficiency anemia. When you take rice flakes, you take roasted Bengal gram, they are a source of iron. Alongside, you need to take vitamin C rich foods, which will help to improve anemia. But spinach has only 1 milligram of iron, so it will not do good when it comes to anemia. Yes, there is some amount of vitamin C in palak also. The next slide, please. So omega-3 fatty acids, I've already mentioned to you, whether you take it in the form of fish, you take it walnuts, you take Vendium, that is the fenugreek seeds. You can take it in any of these forms, or flax seeds, or even green leafy vegetables are also a source of omega-3 fatty acids, which need to be consumed on regular basis because there is some evidence that it enhances the function of the immune cells. The next slide, please. Magnesium mainly present in green leafy vegetables, in ragi, in pulses, in the gingerly seeds. They are a source of magnesium, which also helps in boosting the immunoglobulins. But remember, when it comes to garden cress seeds, it should not be consumed by pregnant women because it increases contractions. So there is a big no when it comes to garden cress seeds when it comes to pregnant women. But yes, garden cress seeds can be taken otherwise even when it comes to anemia, as well as a source of magnesium. The next slide, please. Zinc is a very, very valuable trace element. In fact, there is a research paper in 2010 with coronavirus and zinc, but not with, COVID-19. But definitely, yes, with coronavirus and zinc, there is a research paper in 2010. It helps reduce inflammation. It has antiviral activities. It helps to improve lungs. It strengthens pulmonary function. It helps to improve the mucociliary clearance. So it's very valuable when it comes to elderly. I would suggest you can take it in the form of nuts, gingerly seeds. Those people who are non-vegetarian, they can take it in the form of poultry. But remember, when you're taking nuts or whole grams, you need to soak it overnight to deactivate the phytates. The next slide, please. So this is the research paper which I was talking to you of. Zinc with coronavirus, but in vitro activity. The next slide, please. So as I mentioned to you, oyster, poultry, soaked. Another important thing is chapatis, where you have wheat germ, also is a rich source of zinc. So include wheat in one form, in any form, either samba, goduma, upma, or a wheat dosa, or a wheat chapati. In some form, you have to consume wheat on regular basis daily. Sir, my slide is gone.
Just a minute. Now it is okay, no, ma'am?
Yes, sir, it's fine, sir. You can go back to the previous slide, sir. Yeah. So here I was talking to you. You can remember cocoa when it comes to children. You can take cashews. You can take almonds. You can take soaked whole grams. You have to include chapati or wheat flour in any form, either goduma dosa, samba goduma upma, or in any form you need to consume wheat where you get the wheat germ so that you get the required zinc. The next slide, please. So the healthy gut, as I was mentioning to you previously, we need to remember we need to have a very, very healthy gut. How do we have a healthy gut? It is possible by consuming a plant-based diet, by consuming prebiotics, which will also help to strengthen the probiotics or to produce the probiotics, which will help us to have a very healthy gut. And remember, a healthy gut reinforces the immune system, improves the immune responses, and also promotes specific immune signaling. So it's a very important immune organ, which is your gut. And if you're not going to do clean eating, when you're going to do eating or too much of processed food, not enough fiber in the diet, too much of high glycemic index, high glycemic load food, you're not going to do good to your gut. If you're going to do clean eating, definitely it is going to do good to your gut. The next slide, please. So the prebiotics I've already mentioned to you are garlic, onion, banana, barley, apple, flax seeds, wheat bran, oats. All of them are prebiotics, which will help synthesize the strain of probiotic, which would be actually ideal for your own system. The next slide, please. So this is a beautiful slide which was prepared by Indian Dietetic Association Bangalore chapter, where they very beautifully explained what are the challenges during lockdown. We have anxiety, we are stressed. Some of them have increased appetite, some of them have decreased sleep. There is inadequate, you're not having access to all the nutrients which I've been talking to you from the various food ingredients. Storage is a problem. Cost, some of the food products have doubled the prices. Transport has been doubled. So everywhere there is a problem and unrest and disturbance, especially when it comes to, not sleeping enough, sleeping late in the night, junking, not eating clean food. I typically clearly mean clean food means healthy food in terms of fiber and stuff like that. So when you're not doing all those things, you are going to increase the risk of obesity, insulin resistance, diabetes, heart disease, hypertension. All these things are vulnerable groups to COVID-19. The next slide, please. So these are certain steps. I don't want to be talking too much on this because I'm hoping Dr. Hema Malini will be covering all this content tomorrow. But one thing I want to share with you is there is no evidence that COVID-19 can be spread through contact with food or with food packaging. So you need to practice good hygiene whenever you are handling food to prevent any foodborne illness. The next slide, please. So I think all this is going to be handled by Dr. Hema. So I'll just move forward. So you need to wash them very well. You can't be washing fruits and vegetables with soap and water. You need to wash your hands with soap and water. But just, if you can use a cap of vinegar to wash your vegetables before you cook, or just a teaspoon of turmeric to the vegetables before you cook, when you're washing them well, I think it may do some good. But we don't have evidence for all that. The next slide, please. So eat plenty of fruits and vegetables. Keep naturally colored fruits and vegetables. Choose on local, seasonal fruits and vegetables. Don't think you need to pick up exotic fruits and vegetables, because these fruits and vegetables are sources of fiber, phytonutrients, polyphenols, and all what we can ask for. The next slide, please. So remember to reduce the sugar intake to less than 25 grams per day. I would say in children less than 25 grams, in adults to keep it as low as possible. So avoid these sugary drinks, colas, fruit juices, Tetra Pak juices. Prefer a fruit than a fruit juice. The next slide, please. Trans fats are found in all processed foods, all your bakery items, your puffs, your kara sev, om pudi. So choose on going off from trans fats because they will not do good to your gut. It will not keep your gut microbiota healthy. The next slide, please. So avoid drinking alcohol. People talking of wiping their hands with alcohol, so they think they can keep the virus away. Yes, but you cannot drink alcohol and keep the virus away, because when you consume alcohol, you are going to lead to gut dysbiosis. Trans fats are unhealthy fats which are, when you reheat the fat, you get trans fats, or, dalda or vanaspati are also trans fats. They are all, as I mentioned to you, they will increase your triglycerides, your LDL cholesterol, total cholesterol, as well as not keep your gut healthy. The next slide, please. So I'm wanting to tell that don't try and think of consuming alcohol, thinking that it will kill the virus or keep you away from virus. Definitely it will lead to gut dysbiosis, which will bring down your immunity. Stay hydrated. Don't think of fruit juices, think of water, think of rasam, think of soups. But don't think rasam can prevent you from COVID-19. But definitely, yes, it can help to improve your immunity because of the pepper, the ginger, the moringa leaves, which can be used in rasam, or the tomatoes. Tomatoes, when they are consumed in cooked form, they are a source of lycopene. The next slide, please. So the drinks which you could consume could be plain water, tender coconut, fruit juices only for children without added sugar, green tea, herbal tea, cinnamon tea, ginger tea, tulsi tea, infused herbs in water, milk, buttermilk, unsweetened drinks, unsalted, not too much of salt also you need to add. Just add moderate salt so that you don't cross 5 grams of salt per day. The rasam, the soups, all these are all sources of hydration. And keep drinking warm water every 1 hour. That will really help to keep your, system away from, at least from these viruses, if you're at risk of developing cold, cough, fever. The next slide, please. So try to eat balanced diet and avoid irregular snacking, sitting at home and asking every 1 hour, fry pakoras, fry chips, or pick up a packet of chips. It's not going to do good to you. Refrain from spreading wrong information, not evidence-based information. All which is available on social media, on WhatsApp may not be evidence-based. So follow only evidence-based information to be shared across. The next slide, please. Supplementation is required, under the supervision of a healthcare professional. Wherever there is deficiency, you could think of supplementation. The next slide, please. So conclusion would be spices are essential part of human diet, not only for flavor and taste, but also for medicinal properties that they can contain. Therefore, a part of balanced diet, consume appropriate dosage of spices for quality of life to be extended. The next slide, please. Next slide, please. So this is the message given by our NIN director, Dr. Hemalata ma'am. According to NIN, we should eat right for COVID fight and choose only on local seasonal foods which are available in your local market. The next slide, please. No one food is recommended over another, and eating a variety of foods will help to maintain a healthy, balanced diet and help fight this viral pandemic. The next slide, please. So I am grateful to Indian Dietetic Association, Chennai chapter, Bangalore chapter, Gujarat chapter, because so much of the information which I have derived when it comes to food sources, I've obtained it from IDA Gujarat chapter. But apart from that, so many of my interns have helped me work and get information when it comes to building up your immunity, getting the right information for acceptable daily intake for the natural traditional spices. So I'm grateful to my interns, to my institution, to Indian Dietetic Association, as well as to the Polytechnic, as well as Bharatidasan College, Dr. Kailvili ma'am, Dr. Gandhi sir, for this opportunity to be talking to you on this most sensitive, immunonutrient traditional spices. Thank you for this opportunity.
Ma'am, thank you so much. Today our participants are so lucky to have such a wonderful session, ma'am. Today we came to know that there are so many benefits are there, our daily consumed foods. Really thank we people, sir, from technical aspects. So really it is very much useful for us, ma'am.
Thank you so much, sir.
Now I invite Dr. Kailvili ma'am to give the vote of thanks. Ma'am, please.
Before giving, good evening, everybody. Before giving vote of thanks, I would like to just highlight Dr. Meena, Dr. Meena,
Ma'am, you're not audible.
Past 45 minutes to 1 hour, we were traveling with you. It was not like a virtual class, as if you are with us, like that we were filming.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
It was so nice. And then you have highlighted the spices and condiments role, traditional foods, and cytokine storm syndrome. how to the prevention of secondary infections, and then evolution of healthcare, and what are the various sources of micronutrients and macronutrients, importance of that, and the level, the maximum level, and then one should take, and what are the risk factors. So many things you have explained. It was very nice, and we have got the participants from all over India, not only our nutrition students and faculties. So I hope definitely it will be useful for everyone where we are standing in this COVID situation period, and what we have to do to be healthy, and what are the importance of this immuno nutrition and traditional spices. And beautifully, we enjoyed your Tamil also. Anjarata, Malika, Nachatra Sombu. I didn't know that. Nachatra Sombu also. So definitely we will follow your evidence-based messages, and then we will disseminate this to the community, to our students, because few students have participated. Those who have attended, it is a humble request. Everybody must pass this message to everyone, and we have to put it into action. And always we have to, in Tamil, if we say, Unaval Kapom, Udarpairchiyal Kapom, Manavaliviyal Kapom, ma'am sonnadipadi, always we will follow balanced diet, then we can fight against COVID. So if there is any questions from the participants, you can talk to ma'am through your chat box.
Ma'am, it was a wonderful session, ma'am.
Thank you so much.
I'm having just a
Participants, please post your queries on chat box.
what food
Kindly post your queries only through chat box.
recover from ulcer, ma'am?
See, when it comes to ulcers, you should remember tea, coffee, karam, pulipu. These four things should be out of your diet. Anything which is spicy, which is sour, and which is hard to digest, you should keep away from ulcers. I mean, say you should keep away when you're suffering from ulcer. Another thing is avoid spicy food, sour food, too hot a food, and eat on time. Be relaxed. Eat in a relaxed atmosphere, and neutralize the gut with either milk, buttermilk, in any form, milk, buttermilk, curd, which will help to neutralize the GI system, so that it will help in healing the ulcers. Also, sources of zinc, as I mentioned to you, will also help in wound healing. Vitamin C, if you take it in the form of citrus fruits, it may actually aggravate the ulcer. So if you choose to take guava without seeds, that would do good, or take cooked form. Cooked form will not give you vitamin C, but guava without the seeds, you can help also in terms of healing the ulcer. And obviously, remember the protein. You need protein, you need zinc, you need vitamin C. All these food sources will help in healing the ulcer. But most importantly is, you have to keep away from spicy, sour, uncooked food and rich dressings when you're suffering from ulcers.
Thank you, ma'am.
Participants, please post your queries on chat box. Ma'am, are you able to see that chat box, ma'am? Are you able to see?
No, sir, I can't see the chat box.
Yeah.
Yeah, but there is no message in chat box. Yeah, okay.
Hello, ma'am. Hello.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, am I audible now? Hello?
Yeah, you are audible, ma'am.
Yeah. It was a very much informative session, ma'am.
Thank you,
So
ma'am. Hello, I can't hear you, ma'am.
strong, and what is the role
I
of
can't hear you.
NFKB gene, ma'am?
I can't hear you, ma'am.
NFK gene.
You are not
Yes, ma'am. What is the role of Yeah. 1 second, ma'am. Is it audible now?
No, ma'am, you're not audible.
Okay. Now.
Whether we have a discussion on chat box, ma'am. It will be easy. I will read the chat box queries to you, ma'am.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
Participants, kindly mute your microphone, please. Ma'am, some participants from Lakshmi Street is asking, is there any evidence that consuming foods as soon after cooking has any nutritional benefits, ma'am?
Oh, yes, definitely. You need to eat food. They are definitely more nutritive. you lose a lot of nutrients when you are going to store it for a very long period. Always, definitely, there is enough of evidence to tell us that food which is freshly prepared and freshly consumed definitely is more useful than which is stored and kept in refrigerator for days together.
One participant, Jayaprabha, is asked, why Vasambu used for infants? Does it improve immunity, ma'am?
See, I deal mainly with food ingredients, so I cannot comment on this.
Okay, ma'am. So what food should be taken for strengthen the bone and the joints in elder people?
See, elder people can take green tea not more than 300 ml. And apart from that, boron, which is present in apple, as well as some amount of capsicum, and all these phytonutrients, whichever nutrient I've been talking to you, whether it's vitamin A, vitamin C, vitamin E, all these are antioxidants. When it comes to antioxidants, they are anti-inflammatory foods. These anti-inflammatory foods will definitely help improve joints. But when it comes to bones, obviously vitamin D, you need sunlight, you need eggs. If they can consume eggs with the yolk, you need cheese. Apart from that, you have the calcium, all the ragi, the murunkeera, the milk and milk products. So calcium, vitamin D, along with that, the anti-inflammatory nutrients, all these three put together will help with bone and joint health.
One more participant, what type of dietary food taken for PCOD, ma'am?
PCOS, you have to lose weight. So you need to lose 7 to 10% of your present body weight by reducing your calories between 500 to 750 calories per day. And as I mentioned to you, if you take that green smoothie, which I mentioned to you previously, if you replace your breakfast with green smoothie, include spirulina in your diet, indulge in physical activity by extra 1 hour daily, stop consuming high glycemic index, high glycemic load, large meals for dinner, eat only 3/4 of your, stomach full for dinner. Definitely you will help in weight loss and it will help to recover from PCOS.
Another participant, reason for excess hair loss during lockdown period.
It could be deficiency of, you may have iron deficiency, you may have folic acid deficiency, you may have protein deficiency, or you may simply be having stress, or you're not hydrating yourself well enough. Could be one reason for hair loss. But I think most of us are going through this hair loss. I think most of the women are going through this hair loss, probably maybe because of the climate also, climatic change. Along with the climatic change, the psychological stress which we are going through. Emotionally, we are all drained. Some of them are financially also drained, and you're nutritionally also drained. So when you are having a nutritional, emotional, psychological, physiological drain, definitely there will be some symptom in the form of hair loss. Usually when there is protein deficiency and zinc deficiency, you will see hair loss.
Thank you. Another participant, the cytokine storms and NF-κB gene impacts with COVID and how it is different from cancer.
No, I can't comment on cancer, and I can talk on how immunity can help to reduce the cytokine storm or to improve the cytokine storm. I cannot talk about cancer and this relationship.
Okay. At what time should we be exposed to sunlight to get vitamin D?
Between 11 a.m. to 2 p.m.
2 p.m.
For 15 to 20 minutes. You need to expose your arms at least.
How long we can store mutton, fish in freezer, ma'am?
Sir, I would suggest, I think this is going to be handled by Dr. Heba Malini tomorrow. She will give me more clarity on this. I would suggest to buy fresh, cook fresh and consume it immediately than storing it in the refrigerator for hours together or days together.
Which food can be taken together and which food should not be eaten together, ma'am?
See, when you talk of, say, vitamin C, for example, iron and vitamin C, you need to take iron and vitamin C together. Suppose you are going to take too much of tamarind in your diet, that the phytates interfere with iron absorption. You are going to take too much of tea, tannin in your tea, and you are going to take iron-rich food. It is going to interfere with iron absorption. You are going to take calcium with iron-rich foods. It's going to interfere with iron absorption. So you need to remember to take vitamin C with iron and keep phytate, tannin, and calcium away from iron. So this is some important combination which we need to remember. Always vitamin A, selenium and vitamin E work together. Like that, zinc, selenium, omega-3 fatty acids work together. So these combinations, basically, if you go in with your traditional combinations, like how we consume our food, they would be the best ways to, prevent interference of one nutrient with another nutrient.
Okay. Which food recommend to infant below 5 years during this COVID period, ma'am?
The COVID period, you can choose on gingerly seeds, you can choose on moringa leaves, moringa, soup can be given, sweet potato boiled can be given, roasted Bengal gram could be powdered and given like a sattu, milk, obviously milk, curd, the regular, what you and me are consuming on regular basis. Apart from that, you add nuts, you add gingerly seeds, you add roasted Bengal gram, add egg to the diet along with drumstick leaves. It will do wonders for children below 5 years. Remember to add sweet potatoes also.
Okay. So what is the reason for premature gray hair, ma'am?
I can't comment on it, sir. It could be genetic also for all you know.
Okay. So many of the people's, I think we have answered for all the queries.
No.
Madam wants, you can post there, ma'am. We will type it.
Okay, sir.
One important thing is omega-3 fatty acid rich foods also help to improve inflammation when it comes to bones and joints. So omega-3 rich foods like Vendium, flaxseed, fish, sundal, green leafy vegetables also will help improve in joints.
Feedback. That's all, ma'am. I think we have answered for all the queries, ma'am.
Okay, sir. Thank you so much for this wonderful opportunity.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you for your patience and patiently you have answered for all the queries. Ma'am, our entire session has been recorded as you have given earlier concern.
Okay, sir.
Can I post our session in our YouTube channels, ma'am, and I can
Yes.
share?
Sure, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you for your.
You can share the link across, sir.
Yes, ma'am. Sure, ma'am. I will share to you.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Okay.